Hello there, and welcome along to Series 4 and Episode 2 of the Gardener Ben podcast, which is brought to you proudly in association with Peter Beals Roses, winner of 30 Chelsea Gold Medals and creating timeless roses since 1968. Go online and shop at www.peterbealsroses.com now. I really hope that you've had a wonderful bank holiday weekend, and whatever you've got up to, you've managed to get out and enjoy your garden space, whether it's a balcony, terrace, or whether you've been out in the garden doing lots of jobs. It's been absolutely glorious here on the south coast of England. I've been managing to get lots and lots done in the garden, and online I've been sharing with you how I'm going to be tackling a recent infestation of box tree moth caterpillar, which have finally arrived in the garden. Now, a lot of you have been battling these for a long time, but it's the first time that I've ever seen them appear here in the garden at North Lodge, which is just on the outskirts of the New Forest. I only have a very small and limited amount of box in the garden, but I'm quite surprised it's taken it quite so long to arrive here behind the gates. I first noticed the infestation just a few days ago and created a post across Instagram, TikTok and YouTube, which caused quite the stir. Many people quite often saying that the plants needed to be removed, or I needed to reach for a chemical spray or maybe some sort of biological control. I'm however going to be dealing with this problem a little bit differently. As I only have a small and very limited amount of plants, I'm going to painstakingly remove these caterpillars. Many people commented on my upload saying that I should leave them for the wild birds to eat, and normally that would be something that I would actively encourage. However, not being a native UK species, our UK native birds don't actually recognise box tree moth caterpillars as a food source. Studies are taking place and research is encouraging that our wild birds here in the UK are starting to eat them and of course feed them to their young, but it is early days. There is a couple of problems with also trying to treat box in a different way. The first of all, if you are going to reach for a chemical spray of some description, is the fact that box by its nature has very thick, shiny and waxy leaves, making it really quite tough and perfect for planting in exposed sites. Even when salt winds are present, it still manages to thrive. However, treating it with a chemical then becomes very difficult. The plant doesn't naturally actually absorb a great deal of liquid, so even if you did spray it with a chemical, which is something that I'm not actually comfortable with doing here in the garden, it simply runs off and is not absorbed by the plant, making it quite ineffective. The other issue is the caterpillar actually spins itself up in silk, knitting together the leaves of the plant and cocooning itself up in little tubes, which also means if you were going to spray it with something that killed the caterpillar on contact, that you're very unlikely to be able to get it into contact with the caterpillar in the first place, meaning the problem is really very difficult to treat. Caterpillars, once they have actually formed and taken flight into moths, then return to the host plants, compounding the problem even more. Normally during a normal growing season, you can get 2 life cycles from box tree moth caterpillars before they actually have to start thinking about overwintering, and the season is then broken. However, it started so early this year that I have no doubt in my mind that we will unfortunately be suffering through no fewer than 3 life cycle attacks from box tree moth caterpillar this year. So I'm going to have to continue to be disciplined with popping out and actually picking the caterpillars off by hand. Once I've removed as many caterpillars as possible, I'm then going to give my plants a thoroughly good clip with a clean, sharp pair of shears. This will stimulate strong and healthy growth and remove all of the damaged wood. I'm then going to give them a really good feed with a multi-purpose seaweed-based fertiliser from Envy called Allgrow. This is a liquid and foliar feed which I'm going to water on with a fine watering can rose. So once I've removed all of the caterpillars, given them a good clip, and a thoroughly good feed and water, my plants should once again grow away strong and healthy. Then in the next 6 to 8 weeks, I need to keep an eye out for a new infestation of box tree moth caterpillars if they start emerging and actually starting doing damage again. They tend to only like eating the very soft and delicate growth produced at the very beginning of the flush of growth. So those are the periods of time that you need to remain most vigilant. I hope that you enjoyed last week's episode, which featured Geo, that Glasgow witch, on TikTok and on Instagram. If you haven't yet listened to that episode, please do make sure that you follow it up and have a good listen now. Admittedly, it's a very long conversation and will take you some time to get through, but it was really very interesting indeed. If that episode really appealed to you, make sure that you go back and listen to Series 3 and Episode 14, which features a lady called Nicola, who's a Reiki practitioner, and once again, that is a particularly nice listen. This week, the Gardener Ben podcast is actually staying fairly local with a conversation I recorded several weeks ago with Andy and Richard, both team members over at Chestnut and Cherry Tree Nurseries. These are two local sites to me here on the south coast of England, one operating in Bournemouth and one operating in Poole. And through therapeutical horticultural practices, they offer meaningful and steady employment to people who have suffered from long-term mental health conditions, bringing them back to the workplace in a meaningful and safe environment. I've been using Cherry Tree and Chestnut Nurseries for a very long time as a commercial landscaper, mainly because at Cherry Tree Nurseries they still have a traditional A to Z of garden plants, meaning for someone like myself who has a vast plant knowledge, I can walk up and down and pick up everything I need for a 365-day-a-year plant scheme. However, there is a very interesting and meaningful story behind the business, and I wanted to share that with you. I hope that you enjoy the conversation I had some weeks ago with Andy and Richard from Chestnut and Cherry Tree Nurseries. So today on the Gardener Ben podcast, I'm joined by Andy and Richard. Guys, would you like to tell the audience what it is that you do? Where are we today?
We're at Chestnut Nursery in Poole.
Yeah.
Down by Poole Park.
Now you've got two of these sites, that's correct, isn't it?
Yeah, we've got another one up in Northbourne, a sister project called Cherry Tree.
Mm-hmm.
We're both part of the same charity, Plants and Minds.
Yeah.
It's a fantastic project. We can go into all the details, but it's great.
Now as a commercial landscaper, operating in around Bournemouth and Poole, I've been using this site over at Cherry Tree for a long time to buy stock. Now there's a good story behind the actual nursery and the business itself, isn't it? Obviously run by a charity.
That's right.
Would you like to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so the charity was started at the sort of end of the 80s when the government was starting to close a lot of the big mental health hospitals, and shrink them down, and they were bringing into effect this thing called care in the community. So a lot of people that suffered with mental health were housed in the community and supported with community nurses and things like that, which was great and the right thing to do. But there wasn't a lot of provision for people to have meaningful occupational activities, especially activities outside.
Because as we're all aware that routine and movement and being out in the elements and with nature is a really good way of
absolutely. And people in our local unit up in St Anne's noticed that folks would get sick again and come back in.
Yes.
And so they realised very quickly we need to provide something for folks to go to keep, like you say, give them community, give them a sense of connection with the wider community, build friendships, and just do something meaningful and interesting, and feel worthwhile. And so that's why the projects were started. And it was originally at Cherry Tree for a few years, and then when this site at Poole, next to Poole Park, came up, the charity took this site on as well because it's got a fantastic location near to
it has, isn't it?
Poole town.
Yeah.
And across both sites now, we offer this fantastic provision for adults who've got mental health illnesses. They can come to the site. They're referred to us. There's a sort of official process to get involved. But once they've done that, it's all full steam ahead. They get involved with everything that we do here, running the sites.
So I feel that this particular charity, this particular setup was actually very much ahead of its time. This is something that the other communities now seem to be almost catching up with. I mean, I'm aware of another setup similar to this in Southampton. But yeah, this seems to have been sort of set up almost 20 or almost 30 years before the trend.
It was very sort of ahead of its time of Promethean, and a lot of the people involved in the original setting up of the site, Dr. Cyril Speller, who was at St Anne's, he was the chaplain, and the Aish family were involved in setting it up. And actually, a lot of people don't know this, but the Stewart's family, who invented garden centres, they were also involved in setting it up and were huge supporters.
Oh, okay.
And they've been along for the journey ever since, sort of, in the background, helping the charity when it's needed.
So it's for me, it's just really interesting to hear that obviously there was there was obviously this movement from government to move the way they were caring for people within the community, and actually people locally actually noticed a different trend, because one of the questions I had written down is how the need originally sort of generated itself, but that was just through people in the community actually, and people working at St Anne's noticing that there was this trend of people that were being readmitted and needed help.
And they realised that the charity sector had to do that, had to take that up, because you know, even back then there was more funding. You know, fast forward 30 years or more now, you know, there's even less funding available. So
I'm assuming there's probably a greater quantity of money, but so many more people to spread it amongst.
Absolutely, and you know, the services just are at breaking point, as you know, you hear everywhere these days, across all the public sectors. But yeah, certainly mental health, it's a problem, and charities like ours, particularly this charity, it is absolutely. It's what it provides for the services in terms of alleviating the strain is massive.
I can imagine it is. I mean, I've spoken very openly about it on the podcast and on all of my social media channels. I myself have really struggled. Last year was very, very dark for me. I was lucky that I had someone championing for me. I managed to access therapy services, and I'm still using therapy services. Even me working outside, I found it the opposite. A lot of your volunteers and a lot of your partners that will come to work with you will probably find this process quite liberating, getting out. Yeah. For me, horticulture became a prison. It's probably quite a bizarre thing to say, but I locked myself away to the point where I'd literally gone outside and I didn't come back in. I was on my own so much that I just couldn't compute, and I became unbelievably isolated. So yeah, I mean, I understand that accessing the services is incredibly difficult, and it is incredibly important. The setup here, you've got a little bit of propagation, you've got a little bit of stock that you're buying in. Who's mainly responsible for which part of the business?
I'm sort of responsible for I suppose propagation, and quite a lot of generating plants ready for sale, basically. So that might be propagating from seed or cuttings, but more commonly it's sort of growing stuff on, sort of buying in smaller plants like plugs and growing them on. So I'm responsible for that, but having said that, the way we do that is through the team of our volunteers or service users. So I sort of supervise them in those sorts of tasks like potting on, weeding,
and I'm assuming they would have no expert. They don't have to have any sort of level of qualification to be able to access the service.
Absolutely not. I mean, some people do already have an interest in gardening, and some of them may even have RHS qualifications and that sort of thing. So some of them do come from that background, but it's not a requirement at all, because they get supervision and training, and you know, and we always sort of match the task to the person, you know, to what they're able to deal with.
And I suppose that's really quite nice for yourself. That's keeping you on your toes all the time, because you've got people at different skill levels. And I'm assuming for members of your volunteer members as well, that actually they're able to pass knowledge backwards and forwards. I'm assuming you've got some members that have been here quite a long time, and people coming on board all the time, that actually you're able to pass that information about it, which I'm assuming is helpful as well.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think that's one of the benefits for them as well, is sort of interacting with each other and supporting each other. Passing on knowledge. As you say, people who've got more experience or have been here for a lot longer are able to sort of support the newer people and make sort of keep them on track. And that sort of thing.
I must admit, this is one of the things that I found. For a while, I couldn't open my mouth, and I couldn't speak openly about my journey and what I had been through and what I felt. Then you start opening up and talk to other people, and I mean, I'm a man of a certain age, and us men don't talk very much at the best time, especially when you sort of have a tendency to. My grandfather was a farmer. He didn't really talk to anybody. I spent my life outside, and then speaking to people, all of a sudden, one of the nicest things is actually realising there is a story, but most people have common ground. Most people have a story. There is a series of things that our experiences are all different and how we react to them, but our stories are all normally quite similar of how we end up at a certain position feeling a certain way. So it's really nice that your volunteers and your team members have got that to move backwards and forwards, that knowledge passing backwards and forwards.
They do support each other, not just in the horticultural tasks, but as you say, just generally sort of maybe coming out of their shell,
Yeah.
or talking about their own experiences,
Yeah.
and as you say, shared experiences.
And how often would a volunteer be able to come in? I mean, I'm assuming you have a business here that I'm assuming needs a certain staff level. Do you write a roster with paid members of staff working alongside volunteer team members?
So most of the volunteer team members come in once a week, or some twice a week. But we do sort of expect them to come every week, apart from obviously if they've got a reason not to, sort of thing. So it's a weekly sort of commitment for them. Sort of regular part of their routine. So they usually be working with me or someone else. We do also have a couple of part-time paid staff members as well who will sort of help support them as well.
Give you a basic skeleton.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So they've always got someone to refer back to, or to assist them, or guide them, I suppose, in what they're doing. Yeah.
Well, I've noticed from being a customer at both sites that they're actually quite different, aren't they? The original site, for myself, I've been using that particularly as a landscaper because it has what I love to be a traditional A to Z of shrubs and trees and herbaceous perennials, which for myself makes it really easy to shop. The site here in Poole, much more modern. The building, the site here is tremendous. I mean, you've got heat source pumps and solar panels and a really beautiful building here. How did that come about?
So I suppose, Cherry Tree was always historically a sort of wholesale nursery.
Yes.
And then when this site came available, I think the charity at that time, back in 2001, this site was set up. They realised it had amazing potential to have a retail offering in a central location to Poole.
Yes.
Which would really help support the charity, because the charity is almost entirely self-funded. We don't get large grants or donations, or sort of government funding or council funding much to survive. We are almost entirely reliant on our retail operations and wholesale operations. And so that's kind of like what the conception of this site was about. And then, so
it's almost very much a diversification. I mean, I'm assuming the site over at the other site actually gets quite quiet during the winter months, because obviously things could, and here much more focused on exotics and house plants and sundries and
So they're still very much a nursery, and I have to say, coming from a nursery background, I'm an old nurseryman by trade, really. So but when this site got developed with the new shop and it became more of a garden centre environment, at first it was like, oh god, garden centres, but we've really learned to love it and really settle into it well. And
your catchment is much different. I mean, the garden size over this side of the town is going to be a lot smaller, and we're much looking more at an impulse purchase of a house plant or something that's going to look nice in a pot at the doorstep or on a small terrace or something.
It's not just about ensuring the charity's sustainability financially, it's also about the opportunities we can offer to our service users, team members. They can come here and they can also get really good retail experience, stock management experience. They do get involved in most things apart from the office work.
Well, that's no fair. That's the boring bit. That's the boring and hard work bit.
Some of us get stuck doing that stuff. No. So and as a result, we've got team members here, like Rich was alluding to earlier. They come here. They maybe haven't been outside for a long time. They're anxious. They've lost their confidence for whatever reason, and then coming here over time, it builds that back up. They gain that confidence, they gain skills, they realise they can do something in society that's worthwhile, and it's not one of our outcomes that we have to provide, but it is a fantastic outcome when it happens, when people go back into paid employment, or go on to paid employment. Didn't realise they could do it, and they discover through working here in a professional but supportive, stress-free environment. They realise, oh, hang on a second, I could do something else. I can do it. But like I said, it's not something that we enforce. There's people here that will never be in that situation, and we're just here to keep them from ending up back in
needing critical care again.
Exactly. And it really does that. I mean, some of the testimonies that we've had off of our team members over the years, if as the paid staff we've had a hard day because it's been busy and it's been hot and we've been running around, and then we see our team members at the end of the day going out absolutely beaming because they've had a fantastic day here, and you read one of the testimonials how this project's kept them alive, it makes it all worthwhile for us.
I mean, I'm walking around the facility here today. I mean, I say they are incredibly different. The large amount of covered space you've got here to be able to actually work. I mean, let's face it, the weather's been absolutely dreadful over the last couple of months, and weather is unpredictable. So you have the ability here to propagate, to pot on, and actually grow stock on, from plug form or small plant form under cover, which again, let's face it, because the need for movement and the need for actually sort of purpose is not just when it's hot or dry, or when you can go outside. It's all year round. So those covered spaces are particularly useful. And you've just installed a propagation bench. I've gone over and had a look at that.
That's right. Yeah. So we sort of have a heated mist bench, which would be the idea is to be able to do more propagation from seed and cuttings and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Partly because we like to offer. Beyond the bread and butter plants, we also like to offer something a bit more unusual. And a lot of those things are only really available if you grow them from seed or from cuttings sort of thing. So the idea is to have just that sort of slight edge, I suppose, of having some more perhaps specialist type plants and which aren't available in most garden centres and that sort of thing.
I mean, I can probably, as a landscaper that's only just hung up his boots, I can probably guarantee what your largest selling plant over at the other site is. It's probably Grisolenia, isn't it? So,
Yes, it is.
As a gardener, I'm absolutely sick to the back teeth of the thing. I mean, they've got their purpose.
Yeah,
but
you do see a lot of them around, don't you? Everywhere.
I can understand why. I mean, they've got a tiny little leaf. They enjoy being cut back, and they take a salt wind. They're as tough as old boots. But yeah, I can imagine you've been propagating those like they've been going out of fashion.
Yeah, well, we do stock them here as well. But we're a smaller site, I suppose, so we don't have
not keeping it quite so quantities.
Wholesale amounts that the other site might have, sort of thing. Yeah.
So just at the moment, as we moved out of spring and into summer, what are the partners and the volunteers working on at the moment? I notice you're potting up.
Yeah, so we've just started potting. Bedding type summer sort of annuals and stuff. So things like geraniums and stuff, which we grow in as buy in as plugs and grow on for sale. In the weeks to come. And also potting up perennials and that sort of thing. So that will actually be, as we go into spring, that's probably the main task that people will be doing for the coming couple of months, 2 or 3 months. Lots
of bare root trees and soft fruit bushes I've seen.
That's right. So we've had bare root fruit trees, quite decent sized ones. We're getting in other bare root fruit and shrubs and perennials and that sort of thing as well. Yeah. So obviously that's something that the volunteers can do, but we sort of give them guidance on how best to do that sort of thing. And they do a good job. Yeah.
So what other ways can people support the nursery here? I mean, obviously there's 2 sites. Obviously they can actually come in and they can buy stock. But do you have any sort of other events throughout the year? Is there a calendar of events that people can get involved with?
Yeah, we do. I mean, we've actually got our 25th birthday this year, and we're going to be having on Saturday the 28th of March. We're going to be having a little celebration here at the nursery
in Poole,
the garden centre in Poole. Bit of cake, a few balloons and a few words here and there. And kicking off a bit of a fundraising drive. We're trying to improve the tea room and social area for the team members. Get a bit of covered space out the back, so it's good for them. Good cause to donate to. People can just donate through our websites. They can come in and donate in person. Donations particularly for items. I mean, we talk about us aiming to be sustainable from our retail. That's just to keep the lights on. Yes. We still need to improve the infrastructure. I know there's nice bits out there that have been done, but there's always it's every site's always in a state of dilapidation, and you're fighting the elements to keep things nice.
I'm right in thinking that the site that we're on here in Poole actually used to be run by the council. Is that correct? The greenhouses were inherited from the council.
Historic council nursery. So we're within the park boundaries of Poole Park, which was given to the community by the residing lord. I can't remember his name at the moment. who sort of had his dibs on the land here back in the. I think it was 1870s, something like that, 1880s. This area was sort of bequeathed to the community. And at that point, this part of the park was where the pack horses and all the gardeners who tended the park and the borough resided.
And of course that's changed massively over the last 10 years, isn't it?
It's got that kind of like historical application here, and it's so this site for many years has been used for that purpose, and it's kind of set aside for that purpose. And people often come here and they say, wow, it's got such an amazing feel here, and it's got that history, and it's it's because of all that. There's many years of people here doing horticulture coming together, and now the charity doing it. And I like to say that people say, why are your plants so healthy? What's so special about them? And they've been grown for a higher purpose. That plant has brought someone huge solace. And and help in their struggle with mental health, and then it's going on to someone else's garden to bring them joy. So it's this wonderful sort of circular economy of people coming together over adversity, breaking down social barriers and stigmas to also give back to the wider community.
Lovely. And this is something that I probably would really struggle with, because I'm a terrible plant hoarder. I mean, I would admit I've adored plants since I was about 5 or 6 years old. I have vast collections of things, and I've vast collections of house plants. I'm mainly known for my roses. I have, I don't really want to put a number on it, far too many. I struggle to let them go. So I'd probably really struggle working in a place like this, or even volunteering in a place like this, because I get really attached to things. And I've said this before on the podcast, that I've quite often said, right, okay, Ben, you've got far too much of that. So X and Y and Z are coming for dinner, or they're popping over for a cup of tea. It would be nice to give them such and such. And I quite often, I take them out of the greenhouse and I put them by the back door, and about 10 minutes later I look at them and no, I can't do it, and I put them back again. And I've got vast quantities of stuff, so probably not a good place for me, because I wouldn't be able to let anything go. Lastly, I mean, if anybody locally was listening, because obviously you are a local charity, we're here in Dorset. How would someone go about accessing the services here?
So our team members, we've got around 60 spaces at this site for individuals to come throughout the week.
I'm quite surprised. That's quite a large number of people that you're supporting.
But people can do 2 days. So at the moment we've actually got 45 people attending, but some of them are doing 2 days. So that's about 55 of the spaces are used up at the moment. But we always get throughput, so we normally have a few spaces available. But people can get referred to us. There's a referral process. If they want to contact us directly, we can provide them with the information they need, but it generally comes through community mental health teams. The local branches here can refer people if they've got mental health illness and they're under their care, or GPs can do it, and social prescribers. Now in Dorset there's these fantastic places called the hubs, the Access Wellbeing hubs. Most areas have them. Our one's in the Dolphin Centre down here in the shopping centre. People can go up there if they're struggling with mental health issues, and they can get referred that way as well. So there is a sort of an official way of doing it, but it's not hard, and we can help people with that.
Wonderful. And I say that the facility is lovely. There's all sorts here, from houseplants and sundries and tools and lovely bits for the garden, and say potted fruit bushes and all sorts of stuff.
And now lots of homegrown exotics
and
absolutely. Watch the space. That's coming this year, definitely.
And bedding plants galore. Come.
We got all of them as well. Yeah, absolutely. The full range.
You'll be sick and tired of those geraniums in a couple of weeks' time.
It's the guys love growing it because there's a very quick turnaround, so they get to see their fruits, their labours very fast. And our customers, who the bedding crew we call them, who really love those plants, they get pumped and really up for it, and we like supplying them, but we are happy to see the back of it when it's over.
I was talking to Mark when we walked around, and this particular season has been incredibly challenging, hasn't it, as far as the growing on of stuff is concerned. I mean, light, it's not just the fact it hasn't stopped. The low light levels and low air movement and high moisture. I mean,
really challenging. It's particularly with those geraniums and stuff like that. It's actually a real challenge with, as you say, sort of the damp air circulation.
And now we're heading for a cold snap at the weekend. So we've got a hotbed of horribleness.
Keeps us on our toes. But But yeah, we sort of know what we're doing with that, hopefully. Yeah.
Well, it's been lovely to talk to you both today. Andy and Richard, thank you very much for joining on the podcast. If anybody locally is listening and you're in Bournemouth or you're in Poole, please do head to either Chestnut Nurseries or Tree Nurseries. Have a good shop around, because there's lots and lots of things here. So as a traditional gardener, I absolutely adore the range. Not saying I don't love it here, because it's very different, but I say for a traditional A to Z picking up of herbaceous perennials and shrubs and trees, I absolutely love it over there. So it makes it very easy for me when I'm doing a planting scheme.
Yeah, but always come in if you're not sure of what you want, or there's a particular name of plant you need. Just pop on down, and our staff are really helpful here. So always happy to offer advice and.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. I mean, the charity's doing absolutely amazing work. It's fantastic. Thank you very much for your time today. I can't thank Andy and Richard, and of course their supervisor Mark, enough for facilitating the conversation we had just a few weeks ago. As I say, the story behind Chestnut and Cherry Tree Nurseries, run by charity Plants and Minds, is incredibly interesting and inspiring. And they offer a full range of very reasonably priced, healthy and quality plants. So if you're in the Bournemouth and Poole area and you need to pick up some bits for your garden, make sure that you head down to one of their sites or head over to Instagram and follow along. Please also make sure that you check out their website, as it contains loads of information about how you can get involved, fundraising events, and of course how you can donate if you wanted to as well. Next week, I get the opportunity to talk to Neil Duncan, who uses the handle on Instagram, Neil Duncan 40 Rose King. Neil is actually a rose growing and rose exhibiting champion here in the UK, racking up simply dozens and dozens of awards for growing and exhibiting roses. Now, I know this is something that a lot of you message me about on a very regular basis, always wanting to know how you can get into the world of showing and exhibiting the flowers that you grow in your garden. So make sure that you tune into the Gardener Ben podcast next week and catch my conversation with Neil Duncan. The Gardener Ben podcast is brought to you proudly in association with Peterbilt's Roses, winner of 30 Chelsea Gold medals and creating timeless roses since 1968. Go online and shop at www.peterbiltsroses.com and make sure that you're following along on Instagram and on TikTok. Until next week, happy gardening.